In 1968, Nobel laureate Francis Crick summarized all existing knowledge about genetic processes in living beings and proposed what became known as the central dogma of molecular biology. At that time, it was known that some living organisms contain various types of genetic material and that they are characterized by a specific sequence of chromosomes similar to how sentences are structured with words. Essentially, DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid, the carrier of genetic instructions, issues commands that are executed by proteins in the cell, much like a conductor leads an orchestra. However, it turned out that the term dogma was unfortunately chosen because it implied an unshakable belief, contrary to the scientific hypothesis, which must align with all available data and be subject to future discoveries. The scientific path of discovery is such that although Crick's dogma was a significant understanding of genetic processes and the role of proteins in creating ribonucleic acid, RNA, at the time, it has undergone changes over the decades. The test of time has confirmed Crick's assertion that genetic information flows from nucleic acids to proteins, but not in the opposite direction. To date, there has never been a recorded case of proteins producing nucleic acids. However, today we know that Crick's initial assumption was incomplete. Recent research has revealed that genetic data from ribonucleic acid, RNA, can be transcribed into deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA. Namely, some viruses that contain RNA in their capsules, viral envelopes, can insert their genetic material into the host's DNA, thereby altering its genetic foundation. This is best illustrated by HIV, the virus that causes AIDS. The discovery of the enzyme reverse transcriptase, which allows the HIV virus to transcribe its genetic material from RNA to the host's DNA, has enormous significance not only for treating this disease, but also for genetic engineering in general. It is common for a good scientific hypothesis to be so broadly set that it remains valid long after its establishment, regardless of how many times it is scientifically tested. Many biologists believe that the earliest forms of life on Earth originated as self-replicating proteins capable of catalyzing their own genetic material, but no such case has been found to date. In 1986, Thomas Cech and Sidney Altman received the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine for their discoveries that showed some RNA molecules can catalyze chemical reactions in cells, a function previously attributed exclusively to proteins. This discovery brought a shift in understanding the origin of life on Earth and demonstrated that the first genetic materials could indeed be RNA molecules, which could serve as both genetic information and catalysts for chemical reactions. This concept, called the RNA world, provided a new perspective in studying the origins of life on Earth. A crucial question arose: how did reproduction begin? More precisely, which of the key cellular processes developed first, the creation of DNA or the formation of proteins? In seeking the answer, scientists encountered a paradox, which became known as the chicken or egg paradox. If DNA could only be assembled and then copied with the help of proteins, and those proteins could only form through the mediation of DNA, it is clear that neither could have developed first without the presence of the other. This paradox was known to Crick when he proposed his scheme of genetic information flow. That he was quite disturbed by this knowledge is shown by his early suggestion that RNA molecules, unlike DNA, could catalyze chemical reactions in cells. It was clear that DNA and proteins came later in evolution, but this question remained an interesting topic of discussion. Biologists could not confirm through their experiments that RNA had sufficient biochemical diversity necessary to fulfill the role of the mother of all molecules. Everything changed in the early 1980s when American scientists Thomas Cech and Sidney Altman, independently of each other, discovered ribozymes. These are RNA molecules with catalytic abilities. They speed up and facilitate chemical reactions. Hence, their role in ribonucleic acids was of great importance, earning both scientists the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 1989. The role required of the mother of all molecules was before them. RNA, therefore, can encode genetic data and act as a useful catalyst. Over the past 3.5 billion years, evidence for a biological Big Bang has been lost. However, biologists are gradually piecing together the early history of life on Earth. It appears that the conditions in which life originated were very different from those we live in today. For example, Deep beneath the ocean's surface, in black smokers on the ocean floor, there are bacteria that use chemical substances from these vents to survive without sunlight. These extremophilic bacteria show that life can arise and endure in the most unfavorable conditions, suggesting that we may not be alone in the universe. This new perspective on the origin of life on Earth is called the RNA world hypothesis. It has relieved molecular biologists of a significant dilemma. If it is correct, the paradox of the chicken and egg, DNA first or proteins first, no longer exists. In the 1990s, molecular biologist Jack Szostak decided to examine this RNA world. In his laboratory at Massachusetts General Hospital, in experimental laboratory conditions in vitro, he created conditions that mimicked early Earth. His research focused on the evolutionary selection of several RNA molecules from a large number of different RNA molecules. He thus obtained molecules capable of self-replication and performing specific catalytic processes. In these experiments, ribozymes emerged that could link nucleotides, amino acids for RNA, conduct oxidation-reduction reactions, or connect with components that form membranes. However, some researchers believe that an even simpler world preceded the RNA world. The question of how the first nucleotides arose also arose. Could what was shown to be feasible in the laboratory have played the same role in natural conditions some 3.8 billion years ago? No one can yet claim this with certainty. The past century has brought significant advancements in understanding how life began on Earth. Will this century, which we have just entered, bring us the final answer